Hey, Katie.
Hey.
Thanks for coming today. We wanted to talk a little bit about real estate and you and have people get to know you a little bit. It's okay. Just shake it out a little bit. It's funny when you've known someone for 8 years and you still feel a little bit nervous talking to them. It's okay. So Katie and I know each other, but having the conversation just about kind of your career and what got you to this point, I think would be actually interesting. So, where did it all start for you? Go back to you're leaving high school, you don't know exactly what you want to do for a career. You weren't thinking real estate at the time, so tell us a little bit about what you did after you left school and kind of started this adulthood thing.
That's a blur.
I understand. Much farther back for me than for you, but yeah.
I feel like I just made a lot of poor choices, and so much of that part of my life is such a blur.
We definitely don't have to go into that part, but yeah. So let me ask you this way. You left high school, you weren't going to college, that wasn't your plan.
I left I left home, and I graduated high school early. I graduated a semester early, and I started taking classes at Indian Hills. I took my CNA to become a nurse, and then when I moved, so then I did that, and I did normal graduation at high school, and then I moved up here and went to DMAC. I think that's what I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in not nursing school, but finishing the prerequisite classes that I had to take to be able to apply for nursing school.
Okay.
So I was at DMAC doing that. I worked part-time at Hy-Vee and did that. Lived in an apartment with a girl that I went to high school with.
Mm-hmm.
Had a lot of fun. And then I don't know how, I do not remember how long I was in school.
Are you 18 at this point?
Yes.
Okay.
Just turned 18.
So obviously you're thinking about becoming a nurse, but ultimately didn't. What got you out of that track?
I mean, honestly, probably I just didn't want to put forth that much effort into the school.
Yeah.
School was never my thing. I was never very good. I got A's and B's, but I didn't have to try super hard, and I did not want to try.
You found it boring for the most part?
Yeah, looking back, I kind of wish, I don't know, I feel like it's wild that at that age we're expected to go to school and study this thing that we're going to do the rest of our lives, because right now, if you're like, hey Katie, this is going to be a great path forward, you should go to nursing school, you're going to love it, 100% would go and put forth the time and the effort, but I had no drive.
Yeah.
Or, I just wanted to hang out with my friends and have a good time. I didn't mind working, I needed money.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I feel like maybe about a year. And then another thing that I always wanted to do was hair. I always said, growing up, that I either wanted to be a babysitter or a hairdresser. So
you achieved both dreams.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. So I went to beauty school. Finished that, got out of beauty school, worked at a salon in Ankeny for a couple years. They did a training apprenticeship type thing. And then somewhere in that mix, I met Travis. And
Travis is your husband?
Yep. Mm-hmm. And I kind of just decided, I knew that I didn't want to work the salon hours that I was working. And so I was at a place where I'm like, okay, either I need to figure this out and go work on my own so I can create my own hours, or I need to find something else. So May of, I don't even know, 2016, I left the salon I was at, and I had decided that I was just going to find a nanny job. And I was going to nanny all the way through the summer. Travis was supportive of that. We weren't married, but we were living together, I'm pretty sure. And I was just going to take the summer off. I was going to nanny, and I was going to find a salon that I felt good in. Because the salon I was at was very, very strict. You got 2 weekends off a year.
We won't mention the name. But...
Yeah, it was a great salon. I send people to that salon, oddly enough. Have a lot of friends that go there. But it just wasn't, I was not willing to work nights and weekends my whole life. Mm-hmm. That still makes me makes my chest tight.
When I first met you, by the way, that was one of the things that you even said way back then, is how getting into real estate, right? Which we'll get to, but
yeah.
It's an interesting thing about you, by the way, is that there's a part of you that has said the idea of the schooling, etc., was a little bit daunting, maybe, or you didn't want to do it, you weren't all into it, right? And then there's a part of you where, again, when I met you, which we'll get to in a second, where you're saying, I don't want to do the nights and weekends thing, etc. But at the same time, you have a crazy good work ethic when it comes to you've got a task to do, or flipping homes, or we'll get to that too. Have you ever thought about that? How it's kind of like you're kind of two people in one?
Right. I think just like when you work in a salon like that, you're working until 8 p.m. And I had met Travis, and at that point I knew I wanted to marry Travis, and I knew that I wanted to have kids right away. So I'm like, okay, am I going to put forth all this effort and build up this clientele and then have to miss putting my kids to bed 4 or 5 nights out of the week and then work every single Saturday?
Yeah.
Like, your guaranteed day off was Sunday because the salon was closed on Sundays, a lot of them are, and then you got one other day. And usually when you're new, your day off is during the week, right?
Yeah.
So that, like, I don't know why I ever thought that was going to be a good thing or work out, but now my mindset has changed a little bit, right? I don't mind missing out on bedtime once a week. That's, my
Almost
husband
like-
would
almost like
also
your
say
plan.
that. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just decided I was going to nanny. Found a nanny job, I believe. Yeah, I nannied for a family that I went to the gym with, because went to the CrossFit gym in Ankeny at that time. Nannied their girls through the summer, and so I'd already found this nanny job, and then Angela Caldwell reached out and was like, hey, I saw your post a few weeks ago that you're looking for a family to nanny for. There's this agent in the industry, and him and his family are looking for, which is you, a nanny. And so I think you reached out to me at that time, and I was like, oh no, sorry, I'm good. I already have a nanny family. And I was like, I'm only want to do this short term. And I don't remember exactly how that played out. We were like, just meet me for coffee anyway. I'd love to chat about whatever. So I think I met you and Katie.
I don't remember. So where our paths intersect for the first time. So so my wife and I, this would have been in June of 2016.
Yep.
I put out a Facebook post. My wife was expecting her third child in August and was going to be leaving her job if we needed some extra help. So I put out a Facebook post saying, hey, if anybody knows anybody. And Angela, who's an agent in the business, maybe tagged you. I don't remember, but and I've given her credit to this day for this, by the way. So the power of connection. So we probably Facebook messaged at some point.
Right.
And then I'll never forget the first time I met you. It was not with my wife. That came later. The first time we met you was when I knew, like, okay, she doesn't give a crap, which was kind of appealing in some way. I don't know why, because you.
I wasn't interested in whatever job you had to offer.
Yeah, so you had just left your other nannying job for the day, and had been, I think, at a pool, because you came in like a white T-shirt and kind of wet hair, and came to the office. And what did you think when you were coming in at that point? You're like, I'm gonna go talk.
Yeah, like
because...
at that point, I still in my head, like, I knew I didn't want to work all the nights and weekends, but I still wanted to do hair, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I went from school to working at the salon in Ankeny, which had like a 2 more years basically of school. So I was in hair school for 2 years, made crap money there because they viewed it as like an apprenticeship type, right?
Basically.
Yeah. And so I was like, I didn't want to waste the previous 4 years of my life. I had full intentions on going back to school. So heck, I feel like I probably did still have school debt then, but I had never like actually got to do what I went to school to do, which is like help clients and do, like, I did hair, right? But it was so different.
Yeah.
So I had no intentions. I was like, okay, well, I'll meet with you because you're persistent, but I had no intention on, like, I didn't want a nanny. And at the time too, I think I thought that was what was in my head. Like, I knew that maybe there would be some with the business. I was like, oh, I'll just stop in, right?
Yeah. So we had the initial meeting, and at that point, it was mostly about nannying, but it was also about, well, I run this business, and there might be some opportunity for you there. So we hired you. I'm not sure when you started, July or August of that year. Maybe August 1. I think August 1
yeah.
was your first
August
day.
1 because Duke was born August 10th.
Yep. So
and that was obviously awesome because I love babies. So.
Yeah, so you were coming in to our family with a brand new baby. I mean, you had started before the baby was even born.
Right.
Which was, and you had told me prior to that how much you loved babies, and like, well, you get a brand new one so you can like be instrumental in this person's life right away. So we were trying to figure that out, right? As we went, you were kind of doing some nanny stuff, and I guarantee you your memory's better than mine, but started giving you some admin stuff.
Yeah, I think I nannied, was I at your house like 3 days a week and maybe the office 2 days a week because there was somebody else that did some admin work for you, but I think they kind of wanted to transition out. That wasn't their thing, and so I kind of started learning from him on how to do certain things in the business. And I don't even know, like a lot of it was, I mean, frankly, just kind of
well,
crap work.
If you know me, it's like we figure it out as we go.
Right.
So what am I going to do this week? Well, you could probably do one of these types of projects. So you start doing it, and at the beginning, you were very clear that you did not want to be a real estate agent.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, I don't have any interest in that. Don't ask me to do it. I'm not going to get my
license. Right, because I'm like, I'm not about to like give up my whole career to try this new thing out and work nights and weekends, because in real estate, like my years in real estate are super interesting because I got in at such a good time in the market, and it's always been pretty dang good up until like maybe the last couple of years, which is still pretty good overall.
Yeah.
So because of low inventory, there's never really been nights and weekends. It's show when something comes on the market.
Yeah.
So it's been very unique.
Yeah.
But that's why I was so against it, because I'm like, I'm not doing the nights and weekends thing.
And don't you think that a lot of agents that are considering this career have the same concern, but maybe they shouldn't? They think it's always nights and weekends.
Right.
Right.
And it's such little. Now, it's such little in mine. Now, I have such a unique and interesting like path into real estate. If I was another agent that was just, I'm throwing all of my chips in one basket, and I mean, I would probably try and go get a builder, right? And then you're doing opens. Mm-hmm. You're doing open houses every Saturday, Sunday. So it's a different life.
Sure.
So my path, yes, it can be a lot of paths depending on your sphere and how you decide you're going to get your business.
So we all have been working together now for 8 years in August. So at what point do you recall starting to view real estate a little differently in terms of you're doing the admin thing, you're doing a great job, you're learning. At that point, we're Charter House, we're not Agency Iowa, we're relatively small in terms of how many agents we have. I don't remember if you know that number or not. But at some point, you start to think, maybe I do want to become an agent. Maybe, and I think a lot of times what happens is admins start to see paychecks, and they're like, what the heck, man, I could be getting some of that.
Right.
Was it that for you? Was it a sense of confidence because you had seen the admin side of the business a lot?
I think probably learning the business too. I knew a lot, so I'm like, well, I might as well. And I think too, like, I don't remember specifically why. I don't know if you were like, well, if you do this and we can partner on something. I don't remember. I just remember it like becoming less daunting. I'm like, all right, well, might as well. So maybe over like the winter when real estate was slower, I decided, I'm like, okay, I'll just do it. Yeah. I don't remember why.
What year was that? When did you get licensed?
2018.
Okay, so it had been
I think maybe started in 17 because, and I only know that I remember planning my wedding while like taking the test and stuff that spring.
Yeah. How have you found managing a real estate career with your hectic life? You have 3 kids, ages are young. Right. I know, right?
1, 3, 4.
1, 3, and 4. So you've had a very busy last 5 years,
right?
For sure. Which kind of takes us back to around 2018. You get married in 2018.
Yeah.
So how have you managed it? How have you managed doing admin work and being an agent, being a mom, and being a wife, and being all the things. Like, it sounds like a lot, especially coming from the perspective of a guy that doesn't have some of those responsibilities.
Right.
Has it been extremely challenging, or have you not seen it that way?
Oh man, that's a loaded question. It had its challenges, sure. My flexibility has been, that's how I made it happen. You know, when I very first started with you, there was an expectation of, I kind of need you around and in the office, and I was in the office 5 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
And I think eventually it kind of became where I was in the office Monday through Thursday and like maybe a half day Friday. And then I started having kids, and that changed a lot, right? And now I'm full flexibility, so I can do whatever I want as long as I get my job done. And I still try to be here, but I mean, I can do a lot. I can go with the flow, and I have my personality is, I want to do, go, go, go.
Mm-hmm.
So that's worked well for me. Has there been times where I'm like, okay, I've taken on too much, I'm so overwhelmed? Sure.
Yeah.
Like, I would say even right now, a little bit feel like that, right? But also still on the other side, I'm down, I'm looking for more rentals, and I'm looking for a house to flip, and because that's how I work well. I work well when I'm busy and I have things going on. When I get bored,
you don't want your brain to kick in. You're one of those people.
Yeah, it's like if I get bored, then that's not good for me mentally.
Yeah, it's what idle hands is the devil's workshop.
Yeah,
what they say. So you don't want that. So 2018 to get your license, and you're not doing full-time real estate at that point. You're still doing a lot of admin stuff, and maybe to this day you wouldn't say full-time. You obviously are doing a lot more real estate than you've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about living through the transitions of what we have been through in terms of started as Charter House, have now seen that change to Agency Iowa, have seen new agents leaving established firms to come join us, which had never been the case before. Everybody at Charter House started as rookies, and we kind of trained them the way that we wanted them to think about real estate. That's changed recently, and we continue to want to continue to grow agent count. What's it been like from your perspective, living through these things that occur in my brain and say, okay, now we're going to go in this direction and do this, and you've gone along with every step of it and been good about all of it. What has that been like from your side?
I mean, as far as like the business changes going from Charter House to Agency Iowa and our old office to like this big new office, I've always been supportive of you and your ideas, and I can be pretty good with the flow. I don't have yes, I have a lot of stake as in like this is my job, but I felt I don't know, you just brought me along, and I don't really know how to answer that. It's exciting. It's exciting to watch it grow. And as we bring on new agents, that's been something that I don't think I fully grasped how much it would change my perspective. Because when we started Charter House, we hired everyone from brand new. So we built them from the ground up. And then we bring in these new agents from other firms, and they are challenging me in the way
with some of their own ideas,
their own ideas and expectations and the process that they're used to, and they have made me better at my job implementing those things, and like, oh, I can do that, or I can do this, and opening my eyes just to other things to where, I don't know what 5 years looks like. I have a lot of ideas, and it could go so many ways, and I could be so happy with so many different directions, but just having a more open mindset, and doing the admin plus a little bit of real estate, I have been doing that for about 8 years. So not that I'm bored, but that's when, your brain starts to, yours has done the same thing, right? Over 20 years in real estate, or about 20 years.
Yeah.
You did this, and then you did this, and then this, and it's like, not like what's the next best thing, because it's, I want to be here and I want to do this, but what kind of doors are going to open in my future?
I think part of it is challenging yourself.
Yeah.
What am I capable of doing? So many people, frankly, humans, the normal mindset is get into a job, keep the job, stay safe, and be okay with that. And that's fine. A lot of people built that way. But a lot of other people are, I want to see what I'm capable of. I want to see maybe how much money I can make, or how much responsibility I can take on, or if I can start a business, or whatever that is, right? So along with that, you have gone from, an admin only to an admin plus an agent, which you still are today, to house flipper. You own properties now with goals to continue to buy some of those. Where do you see your real estate journey going? I know you just said you're not sure. Obviously, there's a component of that. But what parts of real estate do you really, really like? What parts do you want to do more of?
I mean, so far owning properties, that's treated us really well. So I like that part as of now. I would love to continue to buy rentals. We flipped a few properties before we had kids, or well, as we were having kids, and that became way too hard. It was hard to find the time to do the work, and it just was stressful. Like, it was worth it. We did well, and we flipped well, but we kind of put that on the back burner. I'd like to bring that back out. Yeah, I don't know where it's going to go, but maybe at some point not doing the admin role, right? I'm killing it at real estate. I really like my admin role, and I've just learned it so well, and I've made it this like really good solid thing. So that's hard to give up because I do, and it keeps me connected, and I like that part. I like to be able to talk to the agents here and be the go-to because it makes me feel important and appreciated and all of those things. But yeah, buy more rentals, potentially flip some houses. I don't know exactly where, but I do feel like a tug for something, right? Whether it is just a flip or, but I do feel that right now, just some type of change or being open to it.
And we're not going to give your job away quite yet, but it doesn't surprise me when you talk about eventually not doing admin stuff and being a full-time agent. Obviously, the better money is in being a full-time agent and not doing some of those tasks. But what would you say? So, a question about you, and then a question about us, this place. What is we were at an event last night, and they were asking for the elevator speech, right? 30 seconds you got to give somebody on why they should give a crap about you. What do you bring to the table specifically for clients that you think they should hire me because, and you've done some deals very recently and done a good job with them, and I know they do a good job, but obviously there might be some people watching that haven't done deals with you. What do you bring to the table?
Oh man. I mean, I have a lot of what's the right word for that? I have a lot of perspectives, and I have a lot of knowledge that a lot of agents don't, right? I know the full back end and the full process of a whole transaction, and I've facilitated thousands of transactions at this point. I'm also a pretty no BS type person. I'm not in it to try to make the quick paycheck. I'm going to do what I'm going to advise you as in if I'm purchasing it myself.
Sure.
And I feel like that is very missed. Even among some of our own agents, nothing against them, no specific names, right? But there are just people that do this business differently. And I think that I have a very organic and wholesome view and way of doing real estate. Yeah. I like to do things the way that they're supposed to be done, and I like to treat people the way that they should be treated. And
I would add one to your list.
Just very honest.
So one of the things that I think separates you, and I would hope that most of our agents here would do this, is you definitely have a roll up your sleeves, get the work done approach to you when it comes specifically to homes and getting things closed, right? I've seen, it just happened. I've seen you, in the house late at night because it wasn't clean enough and it needed to get clean, and you're not looking for someone to go do that work, you go do that work.
Yeah.
Right? You were just helping a client the other day having to move some appliances around, some of that stuff, right? That's a differentiating factor that some agents are going to take the approach, that's not my problem, right?
Yeah, and I think that goes a long ways, right? Just in the past couple weeks, I, like you said, moved a washer and dryer. I figured out a solution to a problem really fast, and I got a balloon down from 20-foot ceilings that was stuck on a fan.
How did you do that, by the way?
Not.
You never said how. I heard that story, but what did you do? Throw a dart?
Not safely. No, a ladder, sitting on top of a ladder with a stick and a nail on top of the stick.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I think I would have just tried to throw something in.
I made sure that they still have insurance on the property.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of agents out there, and this baffles me. even just a conversation, I'll be telling other agents I did that, and they'll be like, "That is not your job." And I'm like, "It absolutely is my job. Like, I'm making a paycheck at the end of this, right? It is my job. What does my client need? Well, they need somebody to stage their house. They need somebody to get this balloon done. They need somebody to help them get this moved. That is my job, and I'm happy to do it. Like, that is not a burden."
You view yourself as kind of the end all be all
Right.
for your clients,
Right.
which is a good thing. It's not, and you're right. There are some agents that don't view it that way, and they're not wrong either. It's different perspective. But
Right.
if I was going to hire somebody, I'd want somebody that I know was going to be there when I needed them to, even
Yep.
for the small, menial tasks. I think is still important.
Yeah.
Are you at all concerned about real estate in general? We've heard a lot of talk, obviously, about lawsuits and commissions and how we're going to have to deal with clients and disclosures and all of this stuff. Nobody knows the answer,
Right.
obviously. What's your perspective?
No, I'm not afraid. I think that it will get rid of a lot of the agents in our industry that we should have already got rid of. The part-time agents, the agents that just frankly shouldn't be agents, that they don't take it seriously. It's not their full-time career. I feel like I do have a lot of value and worth to my clients, and I work on their behalf, and there's less changing than, sure, there's going to be changes, but no changes that are happening are not like changes that we can work through and work around. So no, it doesn't worry me. Sometimes I get caught up when you see all these, well, this brokerage is having classes and they're informing and they're talking about this, and then it made me a little panicky, like, okay, well, I'll sign up for those classes. I went to one of those classes this week. It was 2 hours, and the other part is like, it was continuing education, so I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll go. And it was such a waste of time. I'm like, okay, this is the same stuff that we talked about 6 weeks ago at our office meeting, and nothing has really changed because there's still not answers, right? Yes, forms and docs are gonna have to change, and we can no longer put the commission offered on the MLS, but if you are a good agent and you can explain to your clients why it's important, nothing has changed. Commission has always been negotiable.
And why you're worth the money. I mean, that's one of the biggest battles,
right.
Obviously.
Exactly.
So, and that's just comes with time and experience.
Yeah.
So, what would you say? This will be a tougher question to answer, but specifically about Agency Iowa, right? So, obviously, your perspective is you're helping run it, okay? And you've helped build it to where it is, and you've seen the recruiting efforts. You've seen who we've attracted here and how they've done and what they've said about this place so far. I think there's within our own industry, there's probably still a lot of misunderstanding about who we are, what we do, whether we're flat fee, which used to be the case at Charterhouse. We're obviously not here. What's your perspective on Agency Iowa? What would you tell agents that are even thinking about a change, why they should think about Agency Iowa, and maybe even, how the people are here?
Right. So, Agency Iowa, we are not for everyone. We are geared towards agents who view themselves as their own business. They have created or are willing to, they want to make this their own business, right? They want to run it the way that they want to run it, with their signs and their logos, and they want their face to be the name of their business. They don't need a big brokerage, a balloon or a whatever, right, to be the name. There is not a better place to work as far as that, in keeping all of your money in your pocket, most of your money in your pocket.
Yeah.
So, we're not going to be for everyone, because there are people out there that are just afraid to change, or they think they need that, or
they whether they admit it or not, they believe that there's still a lot of power behind the brand that they're associated with.
And I think just over the last couple of years, with all of these cloud-based brokerages, that's just more, that's where our industry is going. I'm not saying that we're ever going to get rid of all of the bigger brokerages, but it's definitely changing.
Sure.
And this is the best of both worlds, right?
It is. Would you also say, in terms of, I think when a lot of people think about changing brokerages, they're leaving a quote unquote family to do it.
Yeah.
How do you feel like our new agents have been accepted here?
Oh, with open arms, I just think about the agents that we've brought over that have come over, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I made this decision. I was so worried. I've felt nothing but support from you guys. you have to want to be able to do that. Like leaving people and your family and your friends, whatever, that's hard no matter what, right? But I think we have a great team of agents, and everybody here is willing to help everybody else, and that's something that is maybe a little more rare. Yeah, I feel like, yeah.
We can probably cut this last part out, but I'm gonna ask the question anyway. I think you've come to know me as massively misunderstood.
Yeah.
I think you would agree with that. You've known me for 8 years at this point, right?
Yeah.
What makes me misunderstood?
Oh. Well, it's funny because, I've never known anything else other than what it's been like to work with you. And I think anyone that knows me well, like my parents, my nanny, my husband, whatever, would say that you treat me better than most bosses treat their employees.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been something that's very valuable to me. And when we started recruiting, or we bring people, or you hear little bits, well, Mark's this or Mark's that, and I'm like, I remember asking, I'm like, do you have like something to tell me? Because all of these misconceptions out there about you are starting to make me like, are you not a good person?
Yeah.
Because you've never showed me that, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of the misconception comes from maybe you're not the most approachable, you have some RBF, and you're either on or you're off.
Yeah.
And if you're off, you are not approachable. Not that you're scary. I've never heard you yell at anybody, or you're not mean, right? Yeah. You just like honesty, and you like loyalty, and you are, that's what I would say.
I think it's, I've heard people say things about me over the years where, especially people that have gotten to know me, where like, before I met you, you were a little bit scary or something. Now you know me, like there's nothing scary about me.
No.
It's always been interesting. It's like, it must be a face thing or something. It's like, I'm not, I'm not 6'5", and I'm not like, I don't know what would even be intimidating about me at all.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I wish people would get past that a little bit, and I'm glad agents that have joined us have.
Yeah.
We've heard from people that have said, Kristen was the first one that came from another firm and joined us, and has been here 8-9 months at this point. And it's like, you're nothing like I thought you were.
Right.
But as we've talked about many times, you got to get past that tougher exterior,
right,
to get to the part where I care a little bit.
Yeah, and I feel like we are all like that to a point, right? It's funny because people will say the same thing about me, like the gym girls. I think of this one girl, her name's Cassie, and she's a super successful businesswoman, owns a small business. She's a chiropractor, and she said to me one time when we were out, and she's like, oh my gosh, I've always just wanted to hang out with you and be your friend, but you're so intimidating. And I'm like, what? Also, this girl is like 5'9", just this amazing human, like super fit, beautiful, confident, owns a business, and I'm like, you were afraid of me? Like, I don't get it. She's I'm like, well, probably because I have a little bit of RBF. But.
Yeah, I think you do. And you've got, I say this in not a bad way, but you've got a little bit of a split personality to you where I'll approach you some mornings and I just know from your presence that this is not the morning to ask that question. That's just about to ask you. But then on the days where you're on, you're super on, right? And my wife has told me before, like if we're going to a neighborhood gathering or whatever, it's like, all right, time to turn it on, because she knows that I can be super engaging and super friendly and happy and ask questions. And if you're just not feeling it, which I assume is you too, right? It's not that.
Right.
And I've told you this before many times. I wish there was a part of my personality, and maybe you do too, that is a little bit like a Ross Peterson who works here, right? How many people don't like Ross? Not many, right? If any, because he's got that warm greeting to him, and he likes people. He likes people, and I've had many days where it's the end of the day, I'm like, man, I just like people. I wish I did, man. I wish and that's not to say, obviously I do like people, but it's not my natural state. Yeah. And I don't know if it's yours either. Right. At least not all the time. Maybe that's unfair. I don't know.
No, that's probably accurate.
So, and where this...
I do like people, and it's like, I was talking to a girlfriend last night, and I said I'm gonna join. I need to join some stuff. Like, what group should I join? She's like, well, what's your goal? And I'm like, well, to help people directly with real estate or whatever. But I said, even to just indirectly help people. Like, I love to connect people. If I can connect one person to another, or I can refer, I love to refer people. So just the more connections and the more people that I can meet and know what they do, the better, right? I do love that, but I love that, but it's getting part of me to like have the personality and be outgoing all the times that I need to do that, because it's either naturally on or it's just off. And it could be nothing's wrong, it's just not on that day. I feel like as humans we're all like that a little bit, but I'm very like black and white with most things in life, and that's one of them too. Sometimes it's hard for me to turn it on. I can't just like on.
You don't snap out things super fast.
Right.
Do you feel like it's gotten way, way, way easier in terms of real estate, having just done it? Do you feel so much more equipped when you get that phone call out of the blue? You know, in the past it'd be like you weren't ready for it. Now it comes out of the blue and it's like, oh, tell me about, again, that elevator pitch. It's just, and part of this is just for new agents, right? They're struggling with everything right now. And I've always told them the key is to not quit, to stick to it.
Right.
I feel like you're at a place in your career where it's just flowing a lot easier without the effort that maybe you had to at a certain point.
Yeah, I think that just comes with doing it for a while, right? I have zero nerves walking into a living room now. None. Because most of the time I get the listing, right? And if I don't, honestly, that was probably a pretty mutual vibe. So I just don't. I don't get nervous. I feel like I know my worth in a sense. And either they're gonna like me or they're not. And it was like something that you've always said, I wanna work with people who wanna work with me. I do think that I'm good at what I do.
Paying attention. That's so nice. Isn't it funny? It's like 8 years. How many times I'll hear you say things, I'm like, that came from me. You just pick them up over time, and you just like put them into your routine. I was gonna say a phrase you say when you've had too much to drink. I won't say it, but like it goes both ways.